This is the top of page 43. Follow along with me while I read out loud. William sat up straight as he could on the wooden bench in the meeting house in Salem. "Let us pray," said William's father. Just before William bowed his head, he noticed how happy his father looked today. The lines of sadness around his eyes were gone. His voice sounded strong, clear, and confident as he talked with God. William remembered how many times he had heard his father pray since he had lost his church back in England. Time after time, Father had clutched his Bible and pleaded, "Gracious Lord, if it be thy will, grant us a place where we are free to worship thee rightly. Grant me a freedom to read thy scriptures and preach their precious truths to the people thou hast given me." Now at last, in America, William had seen God answer this prayer. It was time to stand and sing a psalm. William stood and sang the words from his heart, "Thy word is forever, O Lord." In heaven settled fast. His eyes met his father's, and they smiled as they sang. So I need a volunteer to read about the Massachusetts Bay Colony for me. RJ.
England crowned
Charles the First.
king. 5 years after the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, the new king was determined to put an end to Puritanism and
Puritanism. It's hard to say.
Puritanism in the kingdom.
Okay. Izzy.
The Puritans stayed up in the English churches and tried to purify the worship, but Charles sent his bishops to see who was going to make the Puritans obey the rules of the Church of England. Pastors who did not obey Charles' rules would be removed from churches.
Very good. Keep going. Same paragraph.
Some were put in prison.
Keep going.
Some were fined large amounts of money. They were not allowed to work other jobs. They would pay them more money, but the Puritans said they must obey the Bible. They could not obey the king when they disagreed with the Bible.
Okay, very good. So the Puritans, they stayed in their English churches, and remember we talked about yesterday, they wanted to purify the Church of England. But Charles wanted his bishops. Remember, we talked about how the Church of England wanted to appoint bishops and all of these people. Charles sent them to the churches anyway, and he wanted to make them obey the rules of his church. And the pastors who didn't obey the rules lost their churches. They were removed from these congregations. Some of them were even fined really big amounts of money. Oh, let's put all four on the floor. Thank you.
What happened to you?
I want to see you fall. Some even had to spend time in jail. There were others that they would take away from it. It's still going. I just don't know what happened to her. She left. Some of them not only had their churches taken away or they were fined, but they couldn't do anything else. They wouldn't let them get a job anywhere else. Well, how are you supposed to be successful if you can't have a job anywhere else? So the Puritans said that they continued on. They said we must obey the Bible. And they could not obey the king when he disagreed with the Bible. Raise your hand if you remember the story from the Bible about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
What?
Mm-hmm. They were three guys who knew that it was wrong to worship an idol or to worship a king, but the king was saying, you need to worship this, you need to worship this, you need to worship this, and they refused. They wouldn't do it. Said it's against what we believe to do what you're telling us to do. We're not going to do it. And so they tried to kill them. They didn't kill them. They weren't successful because God honors those of us that obey. But this is a lot like that. The Puritans were in that same type of situation where they said, we're not going to go against what we believe in because of the Church of England. And they say so. We're not going to do that. So let's read on from there. Gracie?
Some of the Puritans decided to move to America. They could begin a new England there. They would have freedom to purify the church there. The Puritans had more wealthy men than the Pilgrims did. These men formed a company.
Keep reading as we flip.
The company.
Fine.
The companies would pay for setting up the colony. This was common for all the English colonies started at this time. But the Puritans did something different with their company. The company leaders usually stayed in England to direct.
RJ, walk with him. Alright, go ahead.
But the Puritan company, no, that's not where.
So the Puritans did. But the Puritans did something different with their company.
Oh, but the Puritan. Okay. I don't know where that is. Oh, it's right. But the Puritans did something different with their company. The company leaders usually stayed in England to direct the colony. But the Puritan company's leaders moved to America. All the leaders of the colony moved to America. They could have greater freedom from England and greater freedom in their churches.
Okay, read on, Isabel.
In 1630, John Winthrop preached to a group of Puritans sailing for New England. He told them that their community must be a model of Christian love. They should be just and merciful in all their dealings with each other. Winthrop explained, "For we consider that we shall be as a city upon a hill, the eyes of all people are upon us."
Very good. Read on somebody. Layla.
People of England and Europe know the Puritans were serious Christians.
Sorry. People in England do Puritans. Winthrop.
Was telling them that their communication needed to be different from communicating outside. Other people thought that they were associated with the first God made and communicated Christians. Winthrop would become the governor of Puritans in many Massachusetts Bay Colony for many years.
Very good. Okay. You gonna read on?
The Puritans not separated from their spiritual children. They did not run their churches separately. The way they thought the Church of England should be. They did not have bishops. Instead, each church had its own leaders. Each church ran its own affairs. This type of government is called
Congregational.
church government, but the churches stayed united because churches would meet together and talk about churches. They wanted to agree with one another about how to handle it.
Okay, very good. So, what position would Winthrop hold in the colony for many years? What position did he have? Go back to your reading. Don't stare at me. I'm asking you a question. You should be looking at your book. What position did Winthrop hold for many years? Yes.
The governor of the Puritans in the New Massachusetts Bay Colony.
Yes. Another thing that I want to tell you guys, go get the sheet quietly because there's been a lot of distraction. I'm going to show you guys an example. So remember, we're learning how to take notes. If you hear something in the reading you think it's going to be important, or you see a term you want to jot down, just because I don't put it on the board doesn't mean that it's not something. Go get your piece of paper. Where the paper has been for 4 weeks, Israel. Come on. So just because I don't write it doesn't mean you can't write it too. Also, a point of when we're taking notes. Sometimes if you're taking notes and you got to do it quickly, because you won't always have teachers that are going to be up here writing it down and giving you all sorts of time to do it. So if you're having to write notes quickly, it's good to get something called shorthand down. You'll notice I said I didn't put his whole name. I didn't put that. Let me see. I didn't put John Winthrop was the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. No, I just put Winthrop governor, and I put the Mass Bay Colony. I abbreviated Massachusetts here. So whenever you're taking notes, guys, it's very important to do that quick shorthand so you don't get behind. Because I know a lot of times it's really easy to get behind whenever we're taking these notes or to daydream. Develop your own little shorthand, something that you'll be able to read. Because, you know, I don't know what that says. Somebody else might look at my notes and not be able to read them. You should be able to read what you wrote. But again, just because I don't write it up on the board doesn't mean that you can't put your own stuff into your notes. Your notes are just that. They're yours. I might jot down some important information. I might abbreviate some important information. So those are just some little note-taking tips. What did John Winthrop want the new colony to be like? Alex? Yeah, he wanted it to model the Christian lifestyle. He wanted it to model Christian love. And he wanted it to be different than the communities of sinners. Remember, we had our group of pilgrims that they went back and forth between Scrooby, and then they finally made it to the Netherlands. And they were, yes, able to worship freely in the Netherlands, but there was still sin, and there was still more of a community of sinfulness. And they wanted a godly Christian community. What were the Puritan churches in Massachusetts Bay like? If you're looking at me, you're not doing the right thing. You should be looking at the reading. What were the Puritan churches in Massachusetts Bay like? How were they run? No. Yes, ma'am.
They didn't have bishops.
Yeah, they did not have bishops. So let's talk a little bit about the new churches in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. There were no bishops, like Kaylin said. Did they want to run it like the Church of England was already being run? Everybody? No, they did not. They wanted to do it differently. This is why they came to a new world. This is why they started a colony. They wanted things to be different. They also wanted each church to have its own leaders. Yes, Israel.
I get a tissue to wipe it out because.
Yes, you don't need to tell me why you need a tissue. Now, Kaylin was reading for us down at the bottom of 44 in that last paragraph. What was this type of church government called? Alex? Okay, if you're not answering my question, then I don't want to hear from you right now. What was this type of government called?
Great to know.
Congregational. Very good, very good. So it was a church government. And it was called Congregational Church Government. That is an important piece of information that I can't spell. There we go. Again, I'm using some shorthand here, okay? I'm not writing out these big long words like government. So church government was called the Congregational Church Government. So that is important information. If I say it's important information and we've written it down, maybe draw a little star next to it. Something like that. Whenever I'm taking notes, I like to have a highlighter and I'll say, ooh, they said that's important information. And I'm just like, put a little highlighter mark on it. This is all going to be really helpful for you, I promise. I already feel like the notes have helped us in class because whenever we go back and talk about this stuff, you guys have a place to go and figure out what we've been talking about. But it's still important for you to listen to the reading while we do the reading. How did the churches remain united through all of this? Gracie?
Because John Winthrop kept it up for so many years.
Well, John Winthrop had a hand in things, but do you stay united if you don't ever talk to the people around you?
No.
No. You can't stay friends. how many of you stay friends with people that you don't ever see or talk to? And I'm not talking social media friends. I'm not talking Instagram friends or YouTube friends. I'm talking about real for real friends. You can't really have those types of friends and have like a strong bond that holds you together. It's cool to have social media friends. It's cool to have YouTube friends or Roblox friends or Fortnite friends or whatever you might have. But for me, I talk to my best friend every single day. We see each other, not as much as we like to, but maybe once a week, maybe once a month if we're really busy. To stay united with your friends, you got to talk to them. Well, these churches, to stay united, the ministers, they would meet together and they would talk about how the churches were doing. They wanted to agree with one another about how to handle problems. So we're going to put in our notes how the churches stayed united. You can't be united if you don't have a constant stream of communication. Yes, ma'am.
Can I get another sheet of paper?
All right, let's look back to page 45. I need a reader volunteer. Tanisha, I think we were at Salem.
Salem was the first town that the Puritans started. As more people arrived, the Puritans started rebuilding towns near to one another. These many small towns made Massachusetts big, different from the colonies in Virginia. And Virginia life was built around the plantation. People earned money in Virginia by growing crops like tobacco and sending them back to England. In Massachusetts, they many people had small farms or worked in different types of trade.
So the first town, this is gonna be, remember, we want to remember terms, we want to remember places, we want to remember people. So Salem is something that we need to remember. Salem was the first town. How did they make a living? Alex? Oh, you don't have to have your mouth full while you're asleep, so take it off so I can hear you. Yeah, so they grew crops. What types of crops did they grow, Gracie?
Tobacco?
They grew tobacco. And RJ, where did they send it back to?
Back to England.
Mm-hmm. So they would grow crops like tobacco, and they would send them back to England, and that's how they would make a living in Salem.
And they said they're gonna send them back to England and Massachusetts Bay.
Mm-hmm. In Massachusetts Bay, many people had small farms where they worked different types of trade. So that was different ways that they were able to make a living. All right, I'm going to read the last paragraph. The Massachusetts Bay Colony proved to be a success for the Puritans. Was the Massachusetts Bay Colony a success?
Yes.
Well, since I just read it, I would hope that you heard me. So we're going to put that in our notes. The Mass Bay Colony was a success.
Yes.
It worked. Because we haven't seen a ton of successful colonies yet. Now, we do know that eventually there are 13 colonies that get settled and we create a whole new government, but we're gonna get there. We do know that we are here in America today, so something had to eventually be successful, and we find that success in Massachusetts Bay. They established a community, okay? That's something that all of the other ones had lacked. They hadn't established a community, but Massachusetts Bay established a community. They lived, they worshiped freely as they thought God wanted them to. They also knew they were sinners, and despite their desire to be more like Christ, they knew there was no guarantee that their children would continue to follow God. There would be times in the coming years when the lights of their city would burn low. However, their effort to be a light to the world had inspired American Christians ever since. So let's go back up to Winthrop. John Winthrop preached to a group in 1630, and he told them that their community needed to be a model of Christian love. And he gave this sermon where he says, "For we must consider that we shall be as a city upon the hill, upon a hill, the eyes of all people are upon us." So when you think Winthrop, I want you to think about that Christian model that he was putting forth. I want you to think about that city on a hill that he wanted the Massachusetts Bay Colony to be. So get those notes down real quickly because we're going to move on. And I want you guys to open up your workbook to page 28. You can tear out page 28 today because I'll be taking it up. We have one other little thing that we'll work on, but it'll be on your own terms. This one we're going to do together. That's why I need y'all to get these notes down so we can get on this worksheet together. Real quickly. And is it one of my pencils? Okay. Let's see. I'm not trying. I see. Okay. No Maddox today. All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh, Victoria left. Well, okay then. Wait, no, is she? No, she's okay. Well, I was not done, but oh, I don't like looking at myself. Let's go away. Go back to a. Wait.
Can I grab a tissue?
Yes. Oh, I don't want to look at myself. Oh well.
Look like you just froze up.
Ah!
You're froze.
I'm frozen in the video. That's so awkward.
Look, you're frozen?
Mm. Oh, there she is. Found her. Yay. Okay. Why are you here? What's in it? Yes. Not right this second. You always want me to do that in the very inopportune time. All right, notes are going away. They're going bye-bye.
Wait, what?
Do remember that it's your responsibility to keep up with your notes, because if you want to use them to study, or if I happen to make a test open note, I might, then you want to hold on to those. I'm not going to take them from you this time. I might eventually take them from you, but I'm not going to take them from you this time. So they're totally up to you. If you don't want to take them, you don't have to take them. But they are an aid, okay? They help out. All right, so our eyeballs should be on page 28 in our workbook.
I misheard you. I thought you said 18.
Nope.
No. Oh, we did that a long time ago. I'm going to take this from you, okay? Guys, whenever we finish an assignment, because I don't want you guys getting up and moving around the classroom too often, even though you do, clearly. If we finish up an assignment, you're to leave it on your desk if it's a torn out page. And you are tearing out today's page, page 28. But if we finish up an assignment, you are to leave it on your desk. I may not pick it up because I may not have time, but I will eventually, by the end of the day, come around and pick up these assignments. If it's not on your desk, it doesn't go into my stack of your papers. I can't grade it. I think it's a 0, even though you may have done an assignment. So some of y'all are holding on to things and hoarding things. You want to make sure that those pages, especially once they're torn out, if they're still in the book, I'll take that from you. Shh. If they're still in the book, that's a totally different story, okay? Totally different story. because we'll eventually tear it out. But if it's a day that we tear something out, I want you guys to have it torn out and laid on your desk so I can grab it from you. Okay, that's going to be very important. And a lot of times I'll say tear it out or we won't ever get back to it, and either way it's fine. So right now we're not focusing on old work, we're focusing on today's assignment. Thank you. Page 28, we're going to write T if the statement is true. Are we going to write false?
No.
Nope. We are going to write the correction in the blank for the underlined part. So, number 1, Charles I was determined to put an end to the Church of England and his kingdom. False, but what did he want to put an end to? Raise hands. Puritanism. Yeah. So in your number 1 blank, you want to put Puritan, which I just misspelled again. Puritanism. Okay. Yes. Number 2, pastors who did not obey Charles' rules were removed from their churches. Raised hands.
True?
Yes. If I say everybody, if I'm like, everybody can answer it, that's fine. But I'm doing raised hands right now. Number 3, the Puritans said they must obey the Bible. Izzy?
True.
Mm-hmm. Number 4, having their company leaders in America gave the Puritans less freedom. Kaylin? It's false. What did it give them? Well, if they didn't have less freedom, what did they have? Yeah, more or greater. Number 5, the Puritans set up a congregational town government. Alex? What did they set up? Congregational what? Church. Try to focus, guys. Number 6, Salem was the first town that the Puritans started. Isabel?
True.
Okay. Number 7, people in Massachusetts Bay had large farms or worked in different types of trade. Layla? Not true. It's
False. They had smaller farms.
small farms. If you remember, we go back to it. They said that they made a living, they grew tobacco, but they had small farms. But they did have farms.
You messed it up.
Try to focus, guys. Number 8, Massachusetts Bay proved to be a success for the Puritans. Isabel? Very good. John Winthrop wanted the Massachusetts Bay Colony to be a model of Christian love. Gracie?
Yes.
Yes, true. Alrighty. Number 10. List the ways Charles I tried to end Puritan. See, I can't do it either. Puritanism. Is he?
They didn't put out Bibles or something.
Alex? From the leaders? Yeah, so that's how it started. He sent bishops to these churches. Well, they didn't want appointed bishops. How else? Is he?
They put them in jail.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what happened to these pastors? They were put in jail. What else happened to the pastors? Yeah?
They were able to
We got that. They took the churches away. They would go to jail. Yeah, so they couldn't get other jobs either. So, pastors went to jail. They are also fined money. That's some of the ways that he was trying to shut those things down. Okay, so look over to page 29. It says a model of Christian charity by John Winthrop. It says, we must consider that we shall be as a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us, so that if we shall deal falsely with our God in this work we have undertaken, and so cause him to withdraw his present help from us, we shall be made a story and a byword throughout the world. We shall open the mouths of enemies to speak evil of the ways of God, and all professors for God's sake. We shall shame the faces of many of God's worthy servants and cause their prayers to be turned into curses upon us till we be consumed out of the good land whither we are going. I shall shut up this discourse with that exhortation of Moses, that the faithful servant of the Lord, in his last farewell to Israel. And then it quotes Deuteronomy 30. It says, therefore, let us choose life that we and our seed may live by obeying his voice and cleaving to him, for he is our life and our prosperity. So that's what they built their Massachusetts Bay Colony on. If you look on the back side of that page, you see a little scroll. Okay? This says, draw a map. So you got to also have a little square. You've got a scroll and a square. Draw a map of the colony that you would make. Okay? There's no right or wrong. This is your colony. You get to design it. You get to have whatever you want to be there. And then you need to write a list of rules that needs to be followed in your new colony. So you map out your colony, you give it a name, and you give it the rules that you want it to have. Yes?
Can we read it out loud?
If we have time, I'll let you guys read out loud later. Yes, ma'am. Like a what? I think we need to stick with making it a colony. Yes.
Can we tear it out?
Yeah, this one will get torn out as well. I'll be taking both of them up today.
Yeah, you write the name on those?
Okay. So this is your colony. You do with it what you want. It is totally up to you.
Can we color?
I need to not be interrupted. If you have a question for me, you need to raise your hand. So you have every option here. You get to name it. You get to give it rules. You get to map it out. It's your colony. Be creative. You will be able to, once you get it written out, give it some decoration. You can throw some color onto it. And it is getting taken up as a grade. What do I want you guys to do with your papers when you're finished with them and they're torn out? Kaylin? Yeah, just please leave them on your desk or somewhere right where I can see them, even if it's sitting on the top of your crate. I need to be able to see these papers, so I want them on your desk so I know that they're there. Okay?
Ow!
Go ahead and get started. Victoria, do you have any more questions for me? Nope. All right, good. Then we'll see you later. Oh, she's muted. Bye. Bye.